Hey humans, welcome to Read to Me, Matt Dunn. I'm Matt Dunn. I'm going to read to you. Guess what we're reading? Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. We are on chapter 14. Wow, 14, part 2. Yes. Chapter 14, Part 2. Another circumstance strengthened and confirmed these feelings. Soon after my arrival in the hovel, I discovered some papers in the pocket of the dress which I had taken from your laboratory. At first I had neglected them, but now that I was able to decipher the characters in which they were written, I began to study them with diligence. Wow. You fucked, dude. It was your journal of the 4 months that preceded my creation. You minutely described in these papers every step you took in the progress of your work. This history was mingled with account of domestic occurrences. You doubtless recollect these papers. Here they are. Everything is related in them which bears reference to my accursed origin. The whole detail of that series of disgusting circumstances which produced it is set in view. The minutest description of my odious and loathsome person is given, in language which painted your own horrors and rendered mine ineffaceable. I sickened as I read. Hateful day when I received life, I exclaimed in agony. Cursed Creator, why did you form a monster so hideous that even you turned from me in disgust? God in pity made man beautiful and alluring, after his own image. But my form is a filthy type of yours, more horrid from its very resemblance. Satan had his companions, fellow devils, to admire and encourage him, but I am solitary and detested. These were the reflections of my hours of despondency, and solitude. But when I contemplated the virtues of the cottagers, their amiable and benevolent dispositions, I persuaded myself that when they should become acquainted with my admiration of their virtues, they would compensate me and overlook my personal deformity. Wow. I guess I wasn't ready for that. Woo! Oh, I'm sorry. Didn't mean to do that. Okay. Could they turn from their door one, however monstrous, who solicited their compassion and friendship? I resolved at least not to despair, but in every way to fit myself for an interview with them which would decide my fate. I postponed this attempt for some months longer, for the importance attached to its success inspired me with a dread lest I should fail. Besides, I found that my understanding improved so much with every day's experience that I was unwilling to commence this undertaking until a few months more should have added to my wisdom. Several changes in the meantime took place in the cottage. The presence of safety diffused happiness among inhabitants. The presence of safety diffused happiness among its inhabitants. I don't know what that means. And I also found that a greater degree of plenty reigned there. Felix and Agatha spent more time in amusement and conversation and were assisted in their labors by servants. They did not appear rich, but were contented and happy. Their feelings were serene and peaceful, while mine became every day more tumultuous. Increase of knowledge only discovered to me more clearly what a wretched outcast I was. I cherished hope. It is true, but it vanished when I beheld my person reflected in water, or my shadow on the moonshine, even as that frail image and that inconsistent shade. This guy's got some bad identity issues and body dysmorphication, you know? We're all like, accept you for who you are. And this poor guy can't accept himself because he's literally a shitload of deformed body pieces wrapped in skin, tied up, and brought back to life. I endeavored to crush these fears and to fortify myself for the trial which in a few months I resolved to undergo. And sometimes I allowed my thoughts, unchecked by reason, to ramble in the fields of paradise, and dared to fancy the amiable, lovely creatures sympathizing with my feelings and cheering my gloom. Their angelic countenances breathed smiles of consolation. But it was all a dream. No Eve soothed my sorrows or shared my thoughts. I was alone. I remembered Adam's supplication to his Creator, but where was mine? He had abandoned me, and in the bitterness of my heart, I cursed him. Autumn passed thus. I saw with surprise and grief the leaves decay and fall, and nature again assumed the barren and bleak appearance it had worn when I first beheld the woods and lovely moon. Yet I did not heed the bleakness of the weather. I was better fitted by my conformation for the endurance of cold than heat. But my chief delights were the sight of the flowers and the birds, and the gay apparel of summer. When these asserted me, I turned with more attention toward the cottagers. Their happiness was not decreased by the absence of summer. They loved and sympathized with one another, and their joys, depending on each other, were not interrupted by the casualties that took place around them. The more I saw of them, the greater became my desire to claim their protection and kindness. My heart yearned to be known and loved by these amiable creatures, to see their sweet looks turned toward me with affection was the utmost limit of my ambition. I dared not to think that they would turn them from me with disdain and horror. The poor that stopped at their door were ne'er driven away. I asked, it is true, for greater treasures than a little food or rest. I required kindness and sympathy, but I did not believe myself utterly unworthy of it. The winter advanced, and an entire revolution of the seasons had taken place since I awoke into life. My attention at this time was solely directed towards my plan of introducing myself into the cottage of my protectors. I revolved projects, but that on which I finally fixed was to enter the dwelling when the blind old man should be alone. I had sagacity sagacity. I had sagacity enough to discover that the unnatural hideousness of my person was the chief object of horror with those who had formerly beheld me. My voice, although harsh, had nothing terrible in it. I thought, therefore, that if the absence of his children, I could gain the goodwill and mediation of the old de Lacy, I might, by this means, be tolerated by my younger protectors. One day, when the sun shone on the red leaves that strewed the ground and diffused cheerfulness, although it denied warmth, Safie, Agatha, and Felix departed on a long country walk, and the old man, at his own desire, was left alone in the cottage. When his children had departed, he took up his guitar and played several mournful but sweet airs, more sweet and mournful than I had ever heard him play before. At first his countenance was illuminated with pleasure, but as he continued, thoughtfulness and sadness succeeded. At length, laying aside the instrument, he sat absorbed in reflection. Whoa! It's getting closer and closer to the moment of truth. I want to know is, what led him to find Frankenstein, and why did he kill that thing, that guy? Did he kill that guy? This guy, this creature, who has no name, I don't know his name, I'm not going to make up one, I don't think. This creature, a humanoid, is so nice and kind and just does not, I wouldn't find him killing anybody, but we'll get there. Clearly there's reason, like I will probably be persuaded to kill that guy too. That's probably what it's going to be like. I'm going to be like, yeah, I'd kill that guy too. So, if you wish for me to keep reading, please check out more of my videos. Give me a thumbs up or subscribe, write a comment down below, and we will be friends, I promise. Because we already are. Friend.